The old pueblo of Tucson, Arizona might just be the best place for you to go on vacation this winter. And in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I believe that you will thank yourself for a trip out to the West Coast this winter season. Let's jump straight in. Now, starting with what is arguably the most compelling reason to make the trip out to the Sonoran Desert, none other than tacos and margaritas. If you're interested in exploring all that is Sonoran-style Mexican food, you could not pick a better location. And that's not just my personal opinion, but the official position of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, more commonly known as UNESCO. In late 2015, UNESCO named Tucson as the USA's first city of gastronomy in a nod of respect to Tucson's unique intersection of local food, local agricultural use of the land, and local customs centered around its Sonoran food. This 4,000-year-old history is the longest unbroken documented history of its kind in the country, and its unique character shows up big time in our own genre of Mexican cuisine. Now, while the entire food scene in Tucson is way too broad a topic for our purposes today, and something that I for sure need to explore more personally, if you are in town and want to check out a few highlights, one recommendation I can make is for you to look out for El Charro Cafe on Court Avenue. El Charro is famous for its seasoned and shredded beef, carne seca, and machaca, dried out the old-fashioned way, by Arizona's own hot and dry desert air. Originally founded in 1922, El Charro is recognized as the nation's oldest Mexican restaurant in continuous operation by a single family, as well as the oldest running female-owned ventures in the food service industry. Its founder, Tia Monica, is also credited by urban legend as the creator of the chimichanga. The story of its creation is told on the menus and placards in the original downtown location, and I'll leave it up to you to determine what the truth of that is. You should also be sure to treat yourself to a Sonoran hot dog as one of Tucson's most famous foodstuffs. Originating in Hermosillo, the capital of the Mexican state which gives the Sonoran Desert its name, it is a hot dog wrapped in bacon and grilled, and then topped with pinto beans, jalapeno salsa, and a standard list of condiments, and served on bolillo bread. If you're a fan of German-style bratwurst, or the Chicago dog, or the Fenway Frank, then our Sonoran variation is one you simply have to try to compare. And after you've had your fill of local Sonoran food, the best way to work off all those extra calories is through outdoor exploration of the unique geography of the northern Sonoran Desert. And luckily for you, Tucson offers many opportunities to do just that. Located near the northern tip of North America's most biologically diverse hot desert, the local plants and wildlife in Tucson and its surrounding areas are the stuff of fairy tales and children's stories. And while you might think that roadrunners, coyotes, and tumbleweeds are just the stuff of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, explore around Tucson's river wash areas and hiking trails, and it's very possible that you will see all 3 of those in the flesh. And while some of our more adventurous and perhaps terror-inducing animal species like the diamondback rattlesnake, tarantulas, scorpions, and Gila monsters are a far more rare sighting than what a local might have you believe, these creatures can also be observed from a safe distance, the Sonoran Desert Museum on our west end, or at the local Tucson Zoo nestled in Reed Park in Midtown. And if you're into hiking or mountain climbing, or even just admiring them from a distance, you'll be excited to know that the city of Tucson is surrounded on all 4 sides by mountain ranges, including the Catalina Mountain Range to the north, the Rincons in the east, the Santa Ritas to the south, as well as the Tucson Mountains to our west side. And while the Catalina Mountain Range is certainly the most visually arresting from within most of Tucson city limits, Tucson Mountain Park to the west also offers stellar views of the Saguaro Cacti National Forest, Arizona's official state flower and one of the most iconic visuals of the American Southwest. Both the east and west campus of the Saguaro National Parks are worth visiting, as is the Coronado National Forest areas and Sabino Canyon and Mount Lemmon in the Catalinas, as well as Madera Canyon of the Santa Ritas to the south. And if outdoor activities and ideal winter weather conditions are what you're looking for, you should know that Tucson also offers a pretty stellar golfing scene. Rated somewhat frustratingly just outside of the top 5 cities in the country for golfing vacation destinations according to Lawn Starter. According to that report, while we do not have the premier locations that are found in the more well-known hotspot of Scottsdale and Metro Phoenix, with golfing options ranging from La Paloma to Star Pass, Ventana Canyon, and El Conquistador, Tucson still offers dozens of options to get you out on the links for the entirety of your trip. And believe it or not, the Tucson area also has national recognition for its local bird watching, or at least I was somewhat surprised to discover that once I had moved here. With over 500 species of birds commuting through the Tucson area at varying times of the year due to our varied elevations and generally mild winter climate, if bird watching is your thing, there are a dozen bird watching hotspots around Pima and Cochise counties, and it's not uncommon to see ospreys, hawks, and all manner of other birds of prey hunting throughout the year. And speaking of outdoor activities, if you're a regular follower of this channel, you likely have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to say next. Now, if you are considering visiting us during the cool winter months, it would be a huge disservice to not mention its many options for endurance cycling and running training. The very thing that brought me to the West Coast to begin with, Tucson offers some of the country's best road and mountain bike riding from November all the way until May. All over town, you will notice signs classifying Tucson as a bike-friendly community, and our charitable availability of bike lanes offer nearly limitless opportunities for riding directly on the roads alongside traffic without having to pack up your bike and drive 30 minutes or more to get to the route start line. As primarily a road cyclist myself, I'm going to skew more in that direction for this video, but feel free to leave me a comment down below for recommendations on mountain bike riding, which I know primarily via local reputation. But for those of you roadies and triathletes, there's a lot to be explored and enjoyed about Tucson's biking scene. For those wanting to challenge themselves on a world-famous climb, you will be sure to find what you're looking for in one of the most iconic categorized hill climbs in the entire country, none other than Mount Lemmon and the Sky Islands. Nowhere else in the country will you find a longer or a more fun continuous climb up and subsequent descent than on Lemmon's 25-mile route from the desert floor of the Catalinas up to the ski run parking lot in Summerhaven. And for options more off the beaten path, but no less challenging, we have Kitt Peak to the west of town, as well as Madeira Canyon to the south, both of which offering its own spin on the Category 1 mountain climb and including challenging gradients quite unlike the low, consistent slog of Mount Lemmon. Or if riding with a group of very fast and experienced cyclists is more your speed, be sure to check out Tucson's longest running group ride, the Shootout as it's called, leaving every Saturday morning from Main Gate Square at the University of Arizona. Originally started by Fairwheel Bikes in the 70s, the ride covers upwards of 70 miles in a clean 3-hour effort, including warm-up and cool-down sections, and is a very popular training venue for professional triathletes and domestic and international cycling teams in town for winter base training. Do so at your own risk, though. Those guys and gals absolutely hammer, and they do not bother waiting up if you can't keep up the pace. Now, for those of us mere mortals looking to ride at a steadier pace, what I feel is one of the most underrated aspects of Tucson cycling scene is that unlike many other locations across the country, there is a long list of routes that are either mostly flat or involving only mild climbing gradients of 1 to 3%, making it quite feasible to perform low-intensity Zone 2 endurance riding continuously. With long stretches to the north, the southwest, and the southeast of towns, it is not only feasible, but an outright joy to spend 2 to 4 hours at an easy conversational pace before getting back into town, ready to chow down on massive burritos full of rice and beans. And despite our general lack of places to swim in open water, it's easy to see why a decades-old tradition of endurance athletics has found a very happy home right here in the Tucson area. If you are looking for ways to fill the day after the morning exercise session and after putting down as much food as you care to, I might recommend to you a number of local museums dedicated to the unique history and culture of the area that we now call Tucson. And so if the eastern seaboard of the USA is home to most of the early colonial history and the founding of our nation, the West Coast remained largely untouched and undiscovered by European influences until relatively recently. Now, despite Arizona being the very last of the lower 48 states added to the country, the earliest settlers at the base of what we now call Sentinel Peak have been inhabiting and practicing agriculture as early as the beginning of human civilization itself, perhaps as back as far as 10,000 years BCE. Predating eastern discovery of the land via Spanish Spanish missionaries in the early 1700s, Native American tribes like the Tohono O'odham and later the Pasquayaki tribes have occupied these local areas for thousands of years, gifting us the 4,000-year-old documented agricultural history that we discussed earlier. These tribes continue to have a presence here locally in Pima County to this day, and the greater Tucson area offers local museums dedicated to both of their cultures, as well as the agriculture and local food production. And for those of you interested in learning more specifically in the realm of food and Sonoran desert cuisine, I recommend that you should check out Mission Gardens at the base of A Mountain, just south of Menlo Park while you're in town, for a free interactive lesson in the agricultural use of the land that we now know is Pima County. And so for these and many other reasons, I hope that now you know just a bit more than you did previously about what makes Tucson, Arizona worth visiting this or any winter time. And while I can acknowledge several spectacular hotel accommodations across town, if you do plan to visit us for business or for pleasure, then I would also like to extend to you a personal invitation to stay with me in my home. You can reach out to me directly to inquire about the availability of my 2-bed, 2-bath or 1-bed, 1-bath private and detached homes that I run as short and medium-term rentals near Winter Haven and right near the Ryucho River bike path here in Midtown. It would be my absolute pleasure to tell you why I chose this area to buy a home in, and as well as to share a few of my favorite biking and running loops for you to enjoy during your stay. I hope this video helped convince you to justify a trip out here, and I really do think that you will dig the vibe that we have out here in Southern Arizona. For those lucky enough to justify the time, I hope to see you out here on the roads, the trails, and of course at the local taco trucks. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.